Today's reading is from Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. This is the word of the Lord.
My privilege to invite Tim up. So if Tim want to come up, and different people from the Message Trust will be coming up over the next 10-15 minutes or so. But I'd just like to introduce Tim. He's my brother-in-law. He's been part of the Message Trust for 27 years now, and used to be in this really cool band called the Worldwide Message Tribe. But are you still breakdancing? Still breakdancing. He teaches breakdancing. Let me pray for Tim, and then I'll hand over to him. Father, I thank you that we have this opportunity to hear from Tim and Emma and Ty and Macy about your work with the Message Trust. Pray that as he speaks to us today, that it will encourage us, we'll have open hearts, and we will be encouraged to share the love that you have for us with others. Amen.
Hello. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us here. It's great to be here. I live not too far down the road in White Stile Road. I don't know if anyone knows that, just over the other side of the A4 there. And yes, as Sarah said, I'm the brother-in-law, married to Emma, and I'm actually dad of Ty, who's just been performing there. So that's the connection. It's great to be here this morning. I was raised in the Anglican Church. I feel very at home, very welcome. It's great to be here. And just a little bit of a word, hopefully, this morning, just some thoughts on the Bible reading that we just had. Brilliantly read, Ruben, thank you for that. So yeah, before we just do that, a little introduction to the Message Trust. It's a charity based in South Manchester. So we'll be driving back up the good old M6 this afternoon to Manchester after we've been with you this morning. But the Message has been going for about 30 years as a charity. And we're involved in sharing the Christian faith relevantly with young people. That's what we do. And that's what we've been doing for the last 30 odd years or so. And as Sarah said, I've been doing that work as 26, 27 years now. Lots to talk about. We work with young people. Why young people? Well, we should have a statistics slide come up on the screen in a moment. And you'll see why young people. Because the statistics with young people in church aren't that great, as you can see. We don't like the fact that young people never go to church, identify as having no religion, don't pray. Now, that's not the total picture. There's a lot of young people even in this church, who are bucking that trend, who are not conforming to those kind of stats. And we want to see that grow. So that's why the Message Trust exists. This is our mission statement. This is what Emma and I joined the Message Trust years ago, to give every young person repeated opportunity. So it's not just a one-off. Young people need to repeatedly hear. We want to be repeatedly given that opportunity to accept or reject Jesus. And how do we do that? Primarily for the Message Trust, our kind of USP, our unique selling point is we use music and creative arts, as you've just seen an example of. Don't worry if you didn't like it. Young people in high schools love it. And it's because it's written for them. We might have a little bit more music on later on, but don't worry. Once again, it only lasts 3.5 minutes, so you can put your fingers in your ears for 3.5 minutes or so. So that's who we are. That's what we do. Our department that Emma and I are in charge of is called Youth Engagement. We're in charge of making sure that we're relevantly engaging with young people. We do that primarily in high schools, also colleges, prisons, through communities and events as well. So a whole myriad of ways of doing that. And that's really what I want to just share a few thoughts about this morning is sharing our faith. Because I've been a Christian for some 30 odd years now, and became a Christian when I was a young person. Maybe many of you can relate to that as well. And so I just want to share some thoughts about how we share our faith. Because it's not something that we just share our faith as a young person, or it's not just a people group that we should be sharing our faith with. We should be sharing our faith as much as we can. So just a few thoughts on that. Just before I do that, just turn to the person next to you, look at them and say to them, you are so lucky to be sat next to me today. It's true, right? It's true, isn't it? They are very blessed, very lucky. Anyway, so as you heard earlier, we're in the season of Advent, preparing to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Now, I'm aware that Christmas and the run-up to Christmas and the preparation for that is an amazing time for a lot of people. For some people, it's not the easiest time at all. It can be a really difficult time. However, fundamentally, the news of Jesus' birth is good news, right? Can we agree on that? It's good news. And I don't know about you, but in my household, we have 3 children. The youngest is 11. When my youngest, who's called Trinity, has some good news, we know about it. Oh, yes. She will come bursting through the door, eyes wide, full of energy, running, banging doors as she goes, Dad, 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 you never guess what? And she'll say, I got a new badge in school for geography class, or I've learnt my backflip in gymnastics, or whatever it might be. But she's passionate, she's energized, and she's excited to tell me something. And I think there's a little bit of similarity in the passage that we heard today that Jesus was trying to get across with his disciples. If you look at Matthew 5, the passage that we read from, early in that passage, probably one of the most well-taught passages in the Bible. If you look at the first part of it, Jesus goes on a little trip with his disciples up a mountainside. He sees the crowds coming. He's keen to get to his disciples and do some teaching with them before he engages the crowd. And he says these famous words of blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are those who mourn. He goes on to say all these blessings to his disciples. And I think the general theme of what Jesus is trying to get across is that his disciples, you are blessed. When we meet Jesus, we become blessed because of who he is. Not necessarily because of how we might feel, what circumstances to say. He's trying to say to his disciples, guys, you are blessed. You are blessed in this circumstance, blessed when you feel like this, blessed when this happens, because you know me. And that wonderful elf quote, if you've seen the movie, I know him, is a kind of the emphasis behind this passage, I think. Blessed because we know him. You might say, well, I don't feel very blessed today because things aren't going so well. But if you know Jesus, you're blessed. It's a truth. It's not something that necessarily we always feel like, but it's something that I think Jesus is trying to get across to his disciples here. We're blessed because of who we're in relationship with, because who we're walking with. That's why we're blessed. And then I think that's why Jesus goes on to say those amazing words. You are the light of the world. And then he says these words about, you don't hide a lamp. You don't put a bowl over it. A city built on a hill can't be hidden. That's not the purpose for it. This blessing that each of us have as we know Jesus is not to be hidden. It's to be put on a stand. It's to be shared with all those in the house, the passage says, so that it may bring light to everyone in the house. That's why I believe Jesus is saying these words. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before men. Now, in my experience and in our work, often me sharing my faith or us sharing our faith collectively can be just what someone needs to hear. For me, it might be quite a battle to overcome my nerves about talking to someone. But often what I find is when I am able to overcome that, or when we're able to go into a school or a prison and overcome the thought of, oh, I don't really know these people, how do I do this? It just happens to be what someone needs to hear. And that should be an encouragement for us to share our faith. That it might just be what someone needs. And often in our work with young people, sadly, we find that it might just be the difference between a young person harming themselves or someone else, or even trying to take their own life. It's that vital that we share our faith because we just don't know what God might be doing. Now, I'm not suggesting we force this on people. We should be respectful. The Bible talks about being respectful and gentle when we share our faith. We should build authentic relationships. We shouldn't shove our faith down people's throats, but we shouldn't hide it. Our faith should come through what we say, what we do, how we are. And we look, just to finish, we can see in Acts chapter 5, the disciples, after Jesus has gone back to heaven, proclaiming their faith every day, it says. Amazing. And that's how we see the early church grow, proclaiming and the acts of kindness that the disciples are doing. So just to summarize, this season, we'd probably have more of an openness in people to hear about the Christian faith. So can I encourage you, be bold, go for it, in whatever way it might be, with whoever it might be. Let's get out there and share our faith, because you just don't know what God might be doing and what God might do to encourage you and the person you're sharing your faith with. That's me done. I hope that's some helpful thoughts for you guys. We're going to have a look at a quick video now of some of the ways in which, as the Message Trust, we're sharing our faith with young people regularly. So if you'd like to watch the screens.
When we at the Message Trust heard that knife crime was on the rise, we couldn't sit back and do nothing about it. After 30 years of working in schools, we got together with the Violence Reduction Unit and decided to come up with a plan.
This tour for us has absolutely enabled us to make contact with so many local high schools and other professional bodies, and to land loud in this amazing community.
The way that the team work with local police forces to bring a police officer into school, a face that might be known to students, or certainly then they might see them out in the future, means that there's also a really long-term impact benefit for the school. We do know that since the No More Knives tour has been in Balshores, that we have had knives placed in the drop boxes in Leyland Town Centre.
Behind me you've got the Knife Angel, 27 foot of over 100,000 knives that have been taken off the streets. And we got a message to the young people that they have the power to change the community they live in by simply saying no to knife crime.
To make our streets safer, to keep our young people safer, I absolutely endorse the work that is being done through the No More Knives campaign to make sure that those messages get out to schools.
It's great to be here in Blackburn Cathedral, where the No More Knives tour has come into town, and see hundreds of kids waiting for a really good evening of music and input with a really strong message.
They're going to hear about the hope that he brings, the purpose he brings to their life, the value and worth that they have because of what Jesus does.
Music is an amazingly important part of the No More Knives tour. The reason why is because music is a platform that young people are constantly connecting with, listening to lyrics every day, day in, day out. And one of the bands, OTC, who are on this tour, have written a song specifically for this tour called No More Knives. So instead of hearing negative messages and messages that promote violence, young people are connecting with a band that are saying a completely different message, that's saying put the knives down.
We've also seen this as a beautiful piece of church unity. Other churches across the area who had that same dream and heart to see these amazing young people hearing about how extraordinary it is to have your life transformed by Jesus. We've packed the response bags, we've prayed together, we've got to know each other, and we've been in our local schools together. It just feels like the last few weeks, God has opened up something glorious here.
This is so important. We want our young people to feel safe, but we also want them to experience the life-changing gospel. Let's get together as church and see our communities transformed.
Hey, interesting, isn't it? Why are we talking about knife crime when we're evangelists? Well, the problem is, going back a few years in 2019, knife crime was majorly on the rise. And I feel as Christians, as part of the church, we need to stand up and be the difference. And it's quite interesting because when I used to live in Brentford with Sarah, I used to be a police officer with the Met just down the road in Ealing. And it's really lovely now, all these years later, to still be working with local police forces, working with the local council, working with the local communities, the local churches, and saying, let's go into the schools, let's meet the young people and equip them, inform them, empower them to be the difference, to actually say that you can be the change. Not only can we equip you to make good choices, but actually godly choices by understanding your worth and your value. I want to bring up Macy and Ty. Give them a round of applause. And we've just got a little slide because I know a lot of you have been praying for Macy. You sent her out a year ago to be part of what's called the Message School of Evangelism. So Macy, tell me, what have you been doing for the last year? Because these guys have been praying for you. They've been supporting you financially. What has the last year looked like for you?
Firstly, I just want to say a huge thank you for everyone who supported me financially and with prayer. Because that last year I've been in Manchester, as some of you might know, with the School of Evangelism. Me and Ty both run it, and we've been equipped to and been empowered and been just fed into with skills on how to share our faith with other people in schools, on the street, in churches, all across the UK. We've done loads of different mission trips into youth groups and schools and stuff. But yeah, we've really been given the skills to go out into the world and share our faith, which has been really awesome.
Brilliant. So you spent a whole year, you were trained in your faith, you were trained how to do mission, and then the last month you actually went out on mission. Yeah. So Ty, tell us a little bit about particularly that last term when you went out on mission. Were there any stories that you can share with us?
Well, the amazing thing about it was actually the last 3 months we had on mission. So we actually had a really big chunk of time to go out and really put these skills that we'd learned to use. And I think my favourite memory of it was we actually managed to go to Germany for a week. So we got to go international with our mission. And we went into some German schools to do these schools lessons that we had spent time preparing. And the songs that we just performed in front of you, we delivered those in these schools. And it was amazing because even though it seemed like an impossible task for these kids to understand what we were saying, because half of them didn't even speak our language and all that, we were blessed with these translators who came from different youth groups who could translate our English into German. And it was just amazing because all these kids suddenly then grasped what we were saying, and it was so much deeper than that. So it just shows that God doesn't care if there's a language barrier, because he's going to provide something to break through that. So even if you think there's like this wall placed for people to hear the gospel, if you put your faith in God, he's going to break that wall no matter what. And I think that was just so refreshing for us to see.
Brilliant. And so I saw some real gems in these two, because not only were they bringing their time, but they were bringing their skills with music, with singing and rapping. And as soon as they finished, I booked them to come on tour with us with the No More Knives tour in July. And it was great because this was one of their first tours. We went to Blackpool, and there's a great picture of them and the team there. And like one of my favourite stories was a teacher coming up to me and saying, oh, one of my students just said, that was the best day of my life, because they're having so much fun, but they're learning some really cool stuff, but they're also understanding their value through God's eyes. And even the police officers are just saying how good it is. If we bring on the next slide, just wanted to show you a couple of little bits of information. So when we went to Blackpool, we visited 6 schools. The news that was put out from the police was No More Knives tour was hailed a success right across the coast. So they were seeing the success as police officers. We did a big concert in a local nightclub because we like to reach young people where they're at. We had nearly 400 people at the concert, and we had over 100 kids respond, and we gave them all Bibles, which for the local churches were brilliant. And then a month later, they did a Freshers Week, invited all the young people back, and they had 134 young people turn up for an entire week who are now plugged into church. Because as Tim said with our vision statement, yes, we want to go out and reach people where they're at. Young people are in the schools. We want to share our faith, but the whole end goal is to get young people in church. So when we find out that the kids are turning up to church, turning up at the youth groups, that's where discipleship starts, isn't it? And then the next slide. This is just from one of the schools. The No More Knives tour is more than just a message, more than just a workshop. It's real stories, real people, students left with real topical conversation and understanding of how to make better choices. And this tour is a lifeline to many students who needed to hear and say no to No More Knives. And this is a lifeline. You know, Tim touched on it. So many young people are hurting themselves, whether it's out of fear and they just want to carry a knife for protection, or whether they actually want to use it, or they're caught up in gangsterism. We want to get these knives off the street and make this place safer. And it's great. I love it when Macy says to young people, if everybody in this room right now said no to carrying a knife, do you think you'd feel safer in this place? Of course. But our last tour, we went into 20 schools across Tameside. That's 20,000 young people who all said in the classroom, I'm not going to carry a knife. And she asked them, do you think you're going to feel safer walking home tonight? And they're like, yes. If we can give them hope on a practical level, but then also take it up a level and say, actually, God is with you every step of the way. He loves you. You've got an opportunity. You can say yes to Jesus, which is what we do at the concert. And we see hundreds and thousands of young people say yes every single year. I don't know about you, that really excites me. I think we just got one last slide. And this was from the deputy head teacher at Lytham St Anne's. And what I loved about this is that they said it's lovely to get the community involved, the PSOs, but also the local churches. The schools recognise the importance of the local church partnering with this mission. And they say it takes a village to raise a child. And I love it because actually what we're finding for the first time in 30 years at the Message Trust, we're having the council and the police funding our work, knowing that we're Christians, knowing that we're going to say to every young person, you are loved and valued by God. Do you want to know him? And they're throwing the money at us to do that, which is just really brilliant. So they pay for the schools element, and then we ask the church to support us in the gig element because we want there to be no shut door for us preaching the gospel loud and clear and giving young people that opportunity. So I just want to finish off with asking you guys a question. Macy, tell us about what you're expecting the next year to look like, and Ty, tell me about what you're most excited about. What are you expecting to do over the next year? What's your next year going to look like? Are you just going to be sat in Manchester?
No.
Are you going to be travelling?
Hopefully we're going to be given lots of opportunities to go into new schools across the UK and possibly some other countries as well, into different youth groups, and just tell people about Jesus, but also encourage them and equip them to make a decision to say no to knife crime.
Brilliant. And what are you excited about, Tyrese?
I'm just excited for how God's going to use us, if I'm honest, because I personally didn't see myself coming into this job, and the fact that I am here now is fantastic. So if God can surprise me here, what else can he surprise me with? And I'm so open for that. I'm ready. I'm well excited.
Brilliant, brilliant. So as you know, only Friday night, these guys were here. Macy preached the gospel, probably for the first time in front of that sort of audience, and 6 young people stood up and said yes to Jesus. That's brilliant. That's happening on your doorstep. And only a couple of weeks ago, they were at Tameside, and 108 young people said yes to Jesus. And we're seeing this week in, week out. And we don't want to get these guys on the road. On Friday night, the hub leader for the Message Trust in London came here. He was talking to Sarah and the team and Luke, and was like, what would you guys think about bringing the No More Knives tour here to your area in northwest London? Is that something that you as a church would like? Would you like to see next chapter in your high schools with your young people using their skills with music, but also sharing their faith, and maybe doing a concert here in this church? I don't know about you, that really excites me. So I really hope that we're going to be seeing a lot more of you guys. I know Macy wants to come home as much as possible, but give these guys a big round of applause. You guys sit down. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these guys to do a song. I've told them to sit down, but they're going to have to come back up again. Sorry about that. Because we do use music, and we wrote a No More Knives theme tune, and I'm just going to get these guys to perform it for you, if that's okay.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life. Whoa, 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 whoa. Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life.
Lay your knives down.
Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life.
Lay your knives down.
Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life. Yo, don't carry no blades, no chefs, no place in death. They step in dangerous areas. He was raised in death, no games and this, no fun when the face is barrier. He did run roads, 100 souls get hurt by the numerous shivings. Stiflers cold, the brothers involved, they sitting at funerals gripping. Too many man wanna back their knives, the beef they handle. Didn't go for the kill, but you bleed on the streets, and it seems he had life gambled. Not much that he can do when you back that poke and the man there stabbed you. From life in the surf to a pig in church right next to a bleak lit candle. Whoa, 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 whoa. Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life. Whoa, 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 whoa. Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life.
Lay your knives
Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life.
Lay your knives down.
Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life. Yo, moment of silence to souls we lost to this madness. It's popping off pop stars, getting popped like pop smoke when I felt this sadness. At the age of 12 we got chefed in the park. He was laying on the floor bleeding, wondering like, yo, how did it end up here? 1 minute we're playing football, next minute, yeah, Eve just pulls out the flicky and shoot. What would you do if it was... That's why I get sick to the core when I see young brothers at park getting stabbed in the back for a little bit of pack and a little bit of rack and a little bit of what? Mad, don't be gassed by life on the road, cause the truth cuts deep like a double-edged sword. When I see young mothers in black on the block, on the knees they weeping, grieving. Bad man pull up in the middle of the night when they pull up. I see a bad man pray in the corner like, Jesus, if you save my life, I'll change my ways.
I pray to God you make it. I pray you stay with me, cause you were made for more. Are you listening?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life.
Lay your knives down.
Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life.
Lay your knives down.
Lay down your weapon, my brother, don't waste your life.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. I don't know if you believe this, but we've actually had knives handed into us in the classroom that have been in the schools hidden under chairs. We've had balaclavas handed to us where kids have said, I want to have this violence persona. But actually, after being in your class, I know that I don't need to be that type of person anymore, and I want to change who I am. We've had people come to faith. We see so much fruit from this work. And I just want to finish with to ask and invite you to partner with us, to partner with Macy. Like churches, we're a charity and we have to raise money. Obviously, your first fruit should come into this church. Your tithe should come in here. But you know what the Bible teaches us to give above and beyond. And maybe today you want to partner with Macy and say, do you know what, I've got £10 I can support you each month so that you can go into more schools than ever before. It costs just £1.50 to put a child in our classroom. Maybe today you could partner with her in prayer. We have the 3 P's. The first one is prayer. Can you pray for Macy and Ty? Can you pray for the Message Trust and all the work that they do? Maybe if we do come back and do a tour, maybe the second P is people. Maybe you can volunteer and you can come and be a steward at one of our concerts. And last one is pounds. Maybe you could today say, yeah, I'd like to support you. If that's the case, come and see me at the back. We have like this goodie bag. There's a quick slide. In there's a bunch of books, CDs, QR codes to talks. We want to support you. Make sure that you really understand what the Message Trust is all about, our heart, so that we can journey together. We can't do this on our own, but we'd love to do it with a local church. Thank you so much for having us this morning, and give yourselves a round of applause for sitting through all the music. Thank you so much.